Okay, so first off, I'm going to start off by showing you how I tried this Watermixable Solvent Free Thinner, thinking, oh, a thinner, that'll really help spread the paint. And so I'm just gonna show you a little bit of that. So I buy these little mason jars to put my water and my brushes in to store. And I find the lids are useful to keep for things like, you know, just needing to put a little dab of solvent in, because I never use that much at any one time. So I'm gonna take a bit of that and say I was starting a painting and I wanted to put a thin layer of, you know, some Indian yellow. I'm gonna put some of that in there, and you can see it thins it out. But what I noticed with this is you can see already when I'm mixing a little bit of that into the paint, it almost starts to create like a gummy situation where it does, yes, it kind of helps it spread, but it almost is just the same as adding water to the paint. It starts to break it down and make it a little different than it should be. And so I decided that that one was pretty much not very useful, and I went and looked at what's in it, and it's made up of alkyd resin and water. And so basically it says it can be thinned with water, and it says it allows the paint to dry faster. It just doesn't, it makes the paint dry almost too fast. So you can see on my palette here, it's becoming like kind of gunky, everything that you really don't want in a paint. So it felt to me like I was just adding water to my paint. So I'm gonna say that one, I wasn't really thrilled. And so the next thing I want to show you is this is your basic linseed oil is the main ingredient in this one. And it's supposed to make it flow or transparent and make the paint fatter, increases the gloss and transparency, makes the brush stroke run slightly, no influence on drying time of the paint, increases durability of the paint film, and can be thinned with water. So yeah, again, I feel like this one, if you do choose to use this as your medium, I'm going to put a little bit out. And let's just use that same, I have this yellow oxide. And let's say I wanted to, I was starting my painting. You can already see that this does not change the color of the paint. It gives the paint a transparent kind of the same sort of thing this other medium did, the Solvent Free Thinner. But what I like about just I think the main makeup of this is linseed oil. What I like about it is it does make the paint glide along a little smoother, and it doesn't change the color of the paint at all. So another thing I notice is using my regular oil paint, I would spread that around with a Viva towel to kind of spread the paint and then build from there using Gamsol, and a lot of oil painters do that. You'll notice when I do the wipe away with the regular glazing medium, the color just stays on the canvas and looks really good still. And this one, it has, that thinner does have water in it, so you can see that it's not stuck to the canvas nice. It almost comes off the way, like I would say the way if I wiped acrylic off with water. that effect that it would have. So far, I would go over the glazing medium over the solvent-free thinner. And now the third one, and the one I've kind of decided this is my favorite, is the quick dry medium. And what I found is it is the most like, because I've painted years with regular oil paint, so I'll put a little bit in here. And this is just like a little boiled egg cup that I ended up repurposing for my medium here. And I'm going to take a little dab of that, and oh, here's my color here, this transparent yellow oxide. And this stuff works, it will kind of make your paint a little bit transparent, but one of the biggest things, what it does for me is it kills two birds with one stone, because for me, I've found even in Arizona that the water mixable oil just takes forever to dry. And so this kind of gives you that gliding effect, like being able to sort of coat your canvas with a thin layer. And it helps the paint spread really well for that first layer. And it also, if you use it in the first layer of paint, like you would sort of a Gamsol wash to get that paint flowing around your canvas, you're also, everything you kind of add to it will have a bit of that in it. So the next layers will get a bit of that quick dry medium in it, and it really helps to speed up the drying time. I did another video that showed it dried really quickly, like 2 to 3 days the paint was dry. Of course, I paint really thick, so on those thicker areas there was still some wet paint, but as far as just your regular thickness of paint, it was already dry. So those are my favorite medium so far to start off, is this quick dry medium. And another good thing about it is quite often I'll just start on a surface, I'll just do a thin coat of it and kind of wipe it off, and then I'll apply the next layers of paint to that. And what that does is it makes it really easy for the paint to glide around. A lot of the time people find water mixable oil quite sticky to use. Like it just doesn't have the same kind of gliding quality as the regular oil paint. Okay, I'll stop the recording. Ouch. So the last medium I want to show you, and it's kind of the funnest, is how to use your palette knife with your Cobra water mixable oil. So I'm just gonna kind of work on, I'm gonna work on a little sunflower so that you can sort of see. I want to get some darker paint on there so you can sort of see how to do this. And let's get some green. So you can see that layer just makes it so easy for the paint to glide around on. But it doesn't, you don't want to put too much because then it gets too slippery. But you do, if you just put a little thin layer, it just increases that nice ability for the paint to kind of glide. It also dries. Another added bonus actually is that it dries with a nice shine to it. So it looks like you've already kind of put a gloss finish on your painting. So it actually kills three birds with one stone. So I really like it. I found that the regular glazing medium, you got to be real careful with it because it's it can get too slippy and you know, you don't want that because then it becomes like when you add too much medium to your regular oil paint like liquid or Gamsol, all that stuff can start to create a real problem for you. So a little is good and too much not so good. So right now I'm going to lift off some of that because I want to show you just a little bit of how I would use this painting paste from Cobra. So you can, I don't use it because I just use a lot of thick paint and it creates a thick paint effect. But if you want to use something to get it even thicker, that's what you could do. But my paintings have a lot of thick paint on them, so I don't really need to use that because some people have trouble applying thick paint, so then that would be useful. So I've got a little blob of it out here, and I'm going to add, I'm going to mix it into this cad yellow light for the sunflower. So I paint a lot of flowers and birds, so it's, especially with flowers, I really sometimes like to create some really thick petals just to really show them off. So here I've got my palette knife and I've got a lot of that, I've mixed the paste into that yellow, and then, you know, I can make a really thick mark like with that. It does sort of make it a little bit transparent, so what you might want to do, it's what I do with my oil, or my acrylic rather, because acrylic paint, I'll do another video on that, because to add palette knife strokes to it, you want to add some gel medium to it, which is kind of the same thing. So I'll put down, first of all, I would kind of, you know, put down some of the, add a little white to that so it stands out. Put down some of those marks there for the petals, and then you could just sort of blend those in a bit, and I'm just going to get a little bit more yellow out for the sunflower. That's some cad yellow medium, so it's a little bit thicker. And just get some of those petals. I'm just trying to get this down so you can kind of see how I would use when I use something like a gel medium in acrylic or this paste for the water mixable oil, kind of what I would suggest doing. And this is not also what comes into play when you're thinking of what to paint and what you're going to paint with water mixable. If the paint is a little more sticky, like water mixable oil can be a little stickier, then I would suggest painting on, I'll show you the surface. These are kind of your best performance is these gesso boards, and they're nice and smooth, and the paint really moves around good on these. This is just some cheap canvas paper that I'm doing the demo on, so this is more like working on a regular canvas. So you can use your brush and really get some nice, look at how thick those brush strokes are. And that's going to give you a real impasto, you know, painting. Really nice thick. So it works well. But I would say, for me personally, I would go with no mediums, or I've only been using the quick dry medium, and I only use it as like a base layer. I sometimes will add it while I'm painting, but typically I just use no mediums, the paint, and that's it. If you add water to water mixable oil, it can start to fall apart. The paint just really literally kind of gets diluted and the color kind of gets lighter, and it's just not worth doing. So if you're painting on a larger canvas, just put out a lot more paint. And if you're painting on a small canvas like this, you know, you can just really get a good effect by using just a layer of this this quick dry medium. So all of that being said, I really enjoy using water mixable oil. This year I decided, well, I started actually last October to switch to acrylic and water mixable and just get rid of the smell and the toxic, you know, all the way through to how to clean off your brushes with real oil, like regular oil paint. I just decided I'd had enough of that, and I gave up I would say the thing you give up the most when you switch to water mixable is you kind of give up that ability to start off your paintings using the Gamsol. But it's really, once you get used to them, there's so many benefits, like being able just to wash your brush with some water and soap is just such a awesome thing, and just to be able to not have that terp, you know, blasting you with all the smell and chemicals is just so amazing. And I can clean my palette off with a baby wipe and some water. There's just so many pros to using water mixable oil. So I'll put the links in my video for this quick dry medium, which I really love. And you know, you can see that there's quite a bit of texture that created. So if you like that real impasto look, you can add this molding paste, but again, I don't really use it. I just put out more paint, and I wait kind of to the end, and it's like putting the icing on the cake. I paint thin, and then at the end I'll build up the things I really want to show off with some thick paint. So I don't do the whole thing that thick. I'll start thin and move to thick, and then get those real, you know, those kind of last but not least details are the ones that count the most when you're painting. And I find those are the things that stand out, is when you go in and you put those touches that are like the kind of highlight, or the effect that you really go, wow, that's a big, like a firework going off. So, you know, if you add a few touches, it looks great. I find that when people get into just blobbing paint here and there and everywhere, it actually just, it's no different than if you paint the whole painting really flat and thin, than if you just do the whole thing like it's one big kind of blob of paint. So it's sort of like a little is good and a lot can be just too much, a little bit overkill. So, but however, everyone has their style, and there's really there's no wrong style when it comes to your painting. You can do whatever suits you. So I'm just kind of telling you how I think and what I do. So anyhow, I hope you liked this little video, and I hope it kind of helped you with how to get that paint to move around a little easier. And I have found there's really no better way to keep the paint the way it's supposed to be and the color the way it's supposed to be, but move around a little more like you've got some Gamsol on there than with this quick dry medium. So, all right, well, I hope that helped, and I will see you in the next video, everybody.